Hello, Camille here from Rain or Shine Farm. It is raining today, on and off, and was yesterday as well. So I'm doing some under the cover patio things today, at least for filming. I did plant a couple things out that I've been hardening off this week, in a respite from the rain. When it's rainy and in particular overcast, it's a good time to plant most things. They'll get watered in, they won't get sun scorched. But yeah, I wanted to talk today about supplies, kind of like seed starting supplies. Um, I know it's kind of like for a lot of us in the northern hemisphere, we're kind of at the end of seed starting season. But I was talking to my mom yesterday. And we were just kind of talking about seed starting and what that looks like. And I figured I'd go through my preferences, things that I've tried and I didn't really like or didn't work for me as like a smaller scale, like hobby farmer, gardener, um, versus sometimes what you'll see online for that's more for market gardening, which is basically like, gardening to sell produce that you have even on like a small plot of land. Um, yeah, and just things that I tried or mistakes I made in the beginning and kind of what my preferred supplies are now. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so this is my seed starting area slash bench or potting bench. I got this set up online like on Facebook Marketplace from someone used. This definitely was not its intended purpose. I don't think it's not really intended to go outside. I used to live in my greenhouse at my old property because that's where I did most of my potting stuff. So you can kind of see here. So we have the pegboard, which is nice for supplies. So I have kind of trowels. This is a bulb planter or auger, really fine snips. These ones, which I use those a lot for tomatoes. These ones are good for like herbs or small things. This is for weeding, for like digging under like a dandelion weed, and then you can pull on it. And then this is a dibber or dibbler, which is you can make holes for things. The dipper's nice if you have raised beds or something. If you have beds that are on the ground, honestly, I just use like a stick that's about that width, because then you can hold it in your hand and not have to bend over. So when I planted onions, I used the dibber or the stick. I think I use the stick to do that. Or if you're doing garlic or even like some um, smaller, I guess, like starts. And then I have up here my garden markers, Sharpie, and then what's officially called a garden marker, which is just supposed to not come off labels um, in the rain and stuff. I have toothpicks, which can be good for, I have used them for labeling before. You can use like masking tape to put on them. I did that when I was doing soil blocking. I didn't do any soil blocking this year. I'm still kind of playing with it and getting used to it. And then these are labels that I've used before. You can tell, so I've bought colored popsicle sticks at like the dollar store before. Right now I have these ones from Greenstock that are nice and thick and big to write on. So that's what I'm using kind of right now. Um, it's kind of messy. So this is kind of my setup. I have like this called a trug, which is like a plastic but like soft sided thing. I think this one's probably like 2 gallon, maybe 3 gallon. I used to have a bigger one that was purple, but because I kept it in my greenhouse, it did get ripped at the top. At some point, the plastic degrades in the sun. But this is kind of what I like to use. So today I was planting up or potting up some things. So I have my soil in there, and then my new thing is I like to just use this, gallon of milk or whatever you have, to keep water in. I'm on a well here, so I don't have to really worry about like chlorine, and treated water, which they say like sometimes people will purposely get water and fill it beforehand and then let it sit for 24 or 36 hours to like dissipate the chlorine. Um, I mostly just have it because the closest spigot is over there. Um, so I kind of just fill the jug occasionally and I just unscrew the cap what I'm going to be mixing in here. You can also use these and put a hole in the cap, just like a little one, and then you can use like a very thin stream of water or with a water bottle too. And then I have this tray. So this is an old tray that I don't like. So this is that kind of like thin plastic material. You can tell it is creating microplastics. I don't know where this is from. It's quite old at this point. So I use this one as my, okay, I'm potting things up, or like I set my things in here. So my setup would be, okay, I'm going to do new seeds or I'm going to pot things up. Um, I'm going to put my stuff in here. I'm going to get my soil ready and wet mixed in there. I'm going to use my trowel here, and then I'm going to pot something up, right? I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to put it in my tray, and then I will take this with me to my lights or to outside or your greenhouse, whatever you want to do. So these are the ones I do like. So I have two of these at least. No, I have ones inside too. I think I have four. So these are 4 by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 by 8. So you can have 24 plants in here. And I have two of these. And these are meant for these cups. These things are all from Bootstrap Farmer. And I really like them. So that's those. And then I have these trays. I have colorful ones. You can also just get black ones. I think I have some down here. Oh, these are the old ones that I don't like, but I've been using them. I'll show you my other area for storage in a moment, where a lot of my stuff is right now. And then you can see over here, these are all pots I brought from my old house. So I have bigger containers here. Grilling equipment. These Home Depot buckets have a couple holes poked in the bottom of them, and they're for trees, like watering trees. So if you have new trees or anything that you need to water, like I think for the first year they say you have to water them every week. For the second year, every month. And then the third year, you may not have to water them at all. Of course, depends on your climate and your area. But even when you're getting new trees established in a place like where I live, where, again, it's currently raining, not very hard, but kind of misting, you still want to water your trees. So you fill like a 5-gallon bucket with the hose, and then the holes in the bottom will slowly let the water out. And then I have this like candlestick thing. These are all stuff that were in my greenhouse. Yeah, so these are the trays that I like to use. So these are, again, you have this. You take your tray like this one, you put it in here so it fits, and then you take the whole thing and put it wherever you're going to be watering and having lights for your plants. And then my preferred way of watering is that you leave one cup spot open and you use a watering can or a hose or your milk jug to water the whole container from the bottom, so that when your plants get roots in the bottom, they can actually, all their roots can be in the bottom of the container getting the water. So obviously if you have small plants, usually the other thing I like is these 6 cells. So usually when I start seeds, I use these ones. So like today I just took some stuff out of here, 6 of them, potted them up in here, put them in new cups, and put them in this. And for most of my plants, this is as big as they get potted up to. Some plants, if they're perennials, If they're not ready to go in the ground yet, if they're trees, if stuff like that, then I generally use 1-gallon pots. Obviously for these trays, it's advantageous to have the square 1-gallon pots, which I have down here. None of these are things, I guess technically I bought them, but these are all from plants I bought from stores, and then I just keep them. And I actually got rid of a ton when I moved. I pretty much only kept all the stuff I liked. I have a bunch of humidity domes down here, which basically, yeah, you would take it and put it over top of this container. Personally, I have never found them that helpful, but that might also be because I live in a very humid place and I used to do all my seeds in the greenhouse. So they will provide some extra warmth and obviously humidity, moisture, which can help germinate seeds. For me, where I live, we have, especially in seed starting time, it's pretty much always humid. So, even indoors. So I don't really use them. I have a bunch. I maybe use them like 1 a year. So those are things I don't use a ton anymore. Like I said, I have these older trays stored down here that are thinner that I don't love. I used to use them as backup in my greenhouse when I had like 8 or 10 of these full of plants. I don't have a greenhouse right now, so everything has gone from here to my garage, which I'll show you after this, where I currently have plants, and then goes outside to get hardened off for like a week, and then it goes into the raised beds. Um, okay, so now we'll go look at my other storage area, which is in the rain. So we'll have to be quick about it, but I will show you my other storage thing. Move the grill here. So we have this uncovered area here. This is slightly undercover, as you'll see. It has half rain, but this is my other thing that I store everything in. So I used this when I moved. We got this when we rented a place, and we took it with us. So this has a bunch of stuff in it, but here's where I keep like all my cups. I probably have, yeah, as many as would fit in the 4 cells of things. So the other things I like are these ones, which are basically 4 cell that fit the same size as the cups, but they are deeper and the holes are bigger. So these are way better for tomatoes because tomato roots get really long, and then this makes it way easier to get them out because you can actually put your thumb in the hole and like push on them. So I really like these. These are, say, American Tray Company. I got these from Epic Gardening website. And those are really nice. I didn't end up using them for tomatoes this year. And with those, I'll show you in the garage, but I use a different kind of watering tray at the bottom. This is something that came from someone else. It is not so nice plastic. These are where all the 6 cells are, and here's my other trays. So I'll try to get one out, but this was what I first bought, which is a, I think, 72 cell tray. And for me personally, the only thing I would ever use this for, that I would ever grow this many of, all of the same plant, are like onions. Maybe like sunflowers, maybe flowers. So I have 2 of these. I rarely use them. I did use them this year for onions. But these really are best if you're planting all of the same thing because they all come out. You want them to all come out at once. It's easiest to water when they all need the same type of watering frequency. You can put them under the light and they don't get too tall if they're tomatoes versus other plants. So I have these because I bought them originally, but they are honestly like too many plants for me as a more hobby gardener. So yeah, you can tell down here I have other trays. I have extra green stock components. But yeah, here's all my like 1-gallon pots and all of these. Yeah, and I think that's everything over here. This is nice because again, where I live, it's rainy. This keeps your stuff from getting like super sun baked. I did not buy this it says it's Rubbermaid, so it's somewhat weatherproof. Again, like critters can like get into the bottom, but it's nice because you could like hose the whole thing off. At my old house, I kept it in a similar place. It was like against the back of our house. It definitely used to get baked in the sun, and it has survived. But yeah, right now that's kind of my clean place to keep all my trays. And personally, I pretty much don't really clean any of my trays until the end of the season. And then I usually spray them with like vinegar water, like diluted vinegar water, and kind of try to scrub them because they do get, like in here, there's like pine cones and spider webs and all sorts of fun things. But especially because they like live under my little potting bench here. But great storage. And then this does have a drawer. So where I do have my soil blocker is in here, which is a way to use trays, but not to use kind of cups, basically, to make little blocks of soil. I have some hose stuff in here and knives, some mycorrhizal granules I should put in the garage, and a bunch of hooks for like planters and stuff. So that stays in there. Again, I'll usually clean my tools. I guess when I do tomatoes, I do clean these because tomatoes can get sick kind of very easily from when you're pruning them. But yeah, this is usually what my setup looks like in the summer, springtime. In the fall and winter, it's cleaner. And I keep my gloves up here to wear when I do soil stuff. Obviously, they are imperfect and have holes, but it just helps me not get my hands entirely disgusting. And then I put them on the top to let them dry. Yeah, so I think that's all here. And again, the trays I really like are all Bootstrap Farmer. The size of tray are called 1020 or 1020. Is like this size, which is the standard size. And that's kind of what you're looking for, especially if you have lights. And so now we'll go into the garage and I'll show you my lights setup and heat mat and stuff. Here's my messy garage, my giant chest freezer, which is great for garden season. And then here's my rack that I've had for the last 6 years. I bought it in 2020. Yeah, so here's an example of the 1020 tray. Yeah. So it's got the 4 across and 8 down with the cups, and I just potted these ones up today. So I started them in the 6 cells. These are pumpkins. When they're bigger now, so I have kind of all of the same size of plants in here. These are hollyhocks in the middle, some peppers, and then sunflowers on the far end. So you want to hang your light basically like as close as you can without touching the plants or without burning the tops of them. So that I have, this is like a 2-foot lamp, 2 feet long, probably 1 foot wide. And I'll show you on my rack here. It mostly spans the whole rack, but obviously it spans the whole tray width. This is my dehydrator. It lives here because, again, it's nice for when I'm processing things. It's also hot, so it's nice to have it out here and not in my house. It's loud too. And then down here, so here I have a 4-foot lamp because the thing is 4 feet wide. And so you can fit 2 trays this way, or you can turn the trays the other way and they mostly fit. Obviously, my light is not really wide enough for that at this time. And I kind of even moved all these to the middle so that they get the most sun. But these are all the 6 cell trays. So you can do this, or like here I planted 1 seed per cell. Here is basil, and I planted just like a bunch of seeds. And you can tease them out afterwards. These are all other seeds, um, or plants that are coming up. And here I have, the light's pretty close. It could actually go lower even. So now that I moved these up, I can move that light lower. So this lamp is actually new to me. It's an LED one. So in theory, I shouldn't have to change the light bulbs very much, or um, it should be more energy efficient. It is not as wide as my other one was. You can kind of see where the light is. Like, it still is getting all of these. My other one was like twice as wide and um, used incandescent light bulbs, and did kind of like, you can tell on this one. So it kind of is like shaped, I don't know, I guess like an umbrella so that it gets all of it down there. The other one was twice as wide. So I do think it definitely provided more heat because incandescents provide more heat than LEDs. But yeah, I'll have to see how this is. I liked the setup. It was easy. Um, so yeah, my setup here is I have one of this, then I have these chains, which usually come with um, the lights so that you can raise and lower them. I have my whole rack set up so that like these lights could raise all the way up to here, like when I had tomatoes on them. Same with this one, it can get raised up a lot more. I have you can see all my milk jugs down there for water or like winter sowing. This is also just kind of my plant collection area. Then I have seeds up top in these various things, canning stuff, and then like other garden fertilizer stuff. Most of the stuff should not like be in the sun or get direct light, so that's why it's kind of further up. We have windows here, but this is north facing, so we don't get like a ton of, it doesn't get direct light. Yeah, so I highly recommend having lights. You don't need that big of a spot. You can buy shop lamps for cheap at hardware stores. But yeah, it's way easier. Your plants don't get leggy. They provide warmth. You can adjust the temperature and stuff. But yeah, so those are other things. So I have heat mats as well. So this one is set at 70, probably. Let's see. Oh, 77. That's pretty warm. So you can change this, and basically it will, if whatever you set it for, it will like turn on and heat to get to that temperature. And then when it drops, so if it's cold at night or whatever, or your lights are off, it'll keep your plants warm. So when you're doing peppers, those are kind of the main ones that need heat while germinating. Sometimes pepper plants will take literally 6 weeks to germinate because they don't have that heat. Yeah, so that's why heat mats are helpful. I actually have 2 of them. I just don't have the other one connected right now. We're actually using it for the ducklings when they were in our garage. So yeah, it's a very gentle heat, obviously. This is what it looks like. Seedling heat mat, 10-20. So that's the size. That's why those trays are called 10-20. It's 10-inch by 20.75-inch. But so yeah, here it tells you germination rates. And then so how it works on mine is I have here, I can show you. I have like a Christmas light timer. That's what I think of it as. So it's a timer where you set the time it is now, and you basically set it for what hours you want it on or off. And then my lights are plugged into that. And then the heat is plugged into a separate, like a different plug on the power strip. So your heat stays on all the time and keeps the temperature good, especially if your lights are off. And then my lights are probably on at this point, like 12 hours a day, probably more actually. Yeah, so that's an easy way. Therefore, all your light stuff is automated. They'll turn off at night. When I had them in my office at one point. basically so I could like keep up with watering and like check on them at my old house. So obviously, like when it's in your house, it's annoying if it turns on at like 5 a.m. and you're not up then and you get the light from it, but you can decide. It's nice to have it in my garage for that reason, although I have to be a little more careful about the temperature. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of everything with my setup. So even if you just had one shelf and like one light like this, or one kind of shop light. This is the shop light size, which is like it has two long bulbs, and it hangs with these things that you can raise and lower with these like S hooks. I think that's worth it. It doesn't take up a ton of space. You could have it like on a bookshelf. And if you use these trays for watering, in theory, you don't get water everywhere. Of course, in practice, like if I'm using a watering can, like it will spill over sometimes. So I would try to think about like what's underneath. So everything that's underneath mine like could get watered on. Um, so these are a shorter tray. So with the 4 by, I guess like 2 by 2, like the bigger, um, I don't know what to call it. So this is like a 6 pack. So those are like a 4 pack that I showed you that were outside in the container, the tall ones I talked about for tomatoes. So this tray is built for those because they're thick at the bottom. This tray does not fit them because it's too tall. So for those, I use this tray, which is also a 1020 tray. It does say right here. It's just a shorter one. Um, and if you do anything like microgreens or if you like lettuce or something, you can buy trays that fit into this that have like holes in the bottom, but will keep all your soil in. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So my preference is, again, these with the 6 packs, and then once I have the seeds going, once they get bigger like this, I pop them up into the cups. And for me, that's usually good enough. Let's see if I can find one where the roots are out. Maybe in the hollyhock, so not really, but you can kind of see a little root right there. But yeah, so right now, if you look in here, there's like enough water that it's poking through the tray, which is what you want, so that all your soil is like thoroughly drenched. Yeah. So with bottom watering, you do have to be careful because, for example, if you just fill the whole thing and your plants already are well watered, you can like drown your plants basically because their roots are in the water constantly. So the ideal is that like you have enough water that the roots can reach down and get water, but that the soil itself is not like muggy and bogged down the whole time. So ideally you do let the soil dry out a little bit. So maybe you water every like couple days when the plants are this big. Um, Tomatoes do consume a lot of water, and when I planted my tomato plants, they probably had like 1 foot long roots. They also get really tall, so that's why it's nice to have like 2 separate lights. I would even say for starting, if you have like, yeah, 2 separate lights that's like span one that's 2 feet and one that's 2 feet, that's probably ideal because then you could just have one shelf but 2 heights of lights, which is very helpful because again, like with these plants right now, you know, they're probably 4 or 5, maybe even 6 inches from the light. And down here, they're probably the same right now, but I could lower them basically all the way down to like where my popsicle sticks are. I mean, you could go further, just you should move your popsicle sticks because they'll get hot, or like if you had plastic, like you don't want your things burning. The LEDs are not hot, so that wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I'm probably gonna lower this light basically all the way down to here because there are gnats in here. So you can get like little um, traps for them, or you can do what I do, which is like I have a carnivorous plant in here that I leave open to attract some of the to eat some of the bugs. And again, it's in my garage, so it's not so bad. Some soil just like is like that. Um, so yeah, that's long-winded enough for now. So this is like an inside plant day. You can see my garden out there being lovely and rained on. Um, but yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.